Hey everybody, Dave Specter here with Chicago Blues Network, chicagobluesnetwork.com. Check out our website where we offer a very cool variety of online and hopefully soon to be in person blues lessons. We focus on a 16 song set list of a lot of the great blues war horses, the great blues standards. I'm going to step outside the set list for one of the classic, very commonly played instrumentals you hear on the Chicago blues scene and the blues scene everywhere. Was originally written and recorded by Jimmy Smith, the great Hammond B3 player. Jimmy Smith was considered a jazz player, but I consider him a blues player as well. Blues-drenched jazz blues. And one of his collaborators, partners, who he recorded with many times, who he toured with. I got to see them together in Chicago at the Jazz Showcase, was one of my all-time favorite guitar players, is one of my all-time favorite guitar players, Mr. Kenny Burrell from Detroit. And he's on the original recording. The title was originally Back at the Chicken Shack, and it's a great record, great cover on Blue Note Records, one of my favorite record labels ever. A jazz label, but a lot of real bluesy, what they would call soul jazz or hard bop. It's very gospel influenced, it's very soulful. If you're just getting into jazz, check out a lot of the Blue Note recordings from the 50s and 60s by guys like Jimmy Smith and Kenny Burrell and Grant Green and Horace Silver and Stanley Turrentine, who is the tenor player on the recording Back at the Chicken Shack. Originally recorded in F, but most blues bands do it as an instrumental in G. And it was kind of one of the signature instrumentals that the Muddy Waters band would play when they'd open up the show before Muddy would take the stage. It's a medium tempo shuffle. It involves some really cool, commonly used and important double stops, as well as some single note melody. So I'm going to play it for you once through and then break it down, show you all the parts nice and slow. 2, 3. So that's the theme. That's what we would call the head, okay? The head arrangement. That term started out in the jazz world, and when you hear musicians, talk about play the head or what's the head? The head is the melody, the main opening and closing melody or theme of the song. And generally in this case, even when it's played with a blues band, the heads are usually played twice at the beginning, so it's a 12-bar blues. So you would play the head for 12 bars and then repeat for 12 bars, 24 bars total, and then everyone would solo. And then it comes back to the head after the solos for another 2 times 12 bar section. So you'll hear that. Check out the Jimmy Smith version. I believe there's some recordings on LP and CD with Muddy Waters band doing it. I know there are plenty on YouTube if you just search the Muddy Waters band Chicken Shack, you'll hear it in the key of G. Okay, so let's break it down. I'm starting. First note is the root, 5th fret D string with my ring finger, okay? I want you to try to play it with the fingering I'm using, because I think it makes good sense and it kind of limits your movement too much, which is good. Try to keep kind of your hand as still and not move it all around the neck as possible. So it's a nice economical movement. So after you hit that root, they're doing a very important hammer on here. I have a bar, my first finger is on the G string. You can just bar the top 3 strings on the 3rd fret. And then I'm hammering on with my middle finger, 4th fret G string. So I'm barring and then I'm using the tip of my middle finger to hammer onto that 4th fret G string. So I'm hitting the root and then that hammer-on. After that hammer-on, another bar, my ring finger is barring the 5th fret G and B string. So these are double stops. Double stop meaning like a little 2-note chord. So that's what we have so far. And then we're going to slide up for this double stop at the 6th and 7th fret. Middle finger, 6th fret B string, ring finger, 7th fret G. And then I'm just doing a half-step slide. This is a really, probably one of the most common double stops you'll hear in the blues. So what we have so far. And then, so that goes back to that root that we started with, 5th fret D string. And then on that same fret, just flatten out your ring finger. Single note and then double stop. And then we resolve with that hammer-on. So here it is all together, nice and slow. So that ending is. All right, now when it goes to the 4, when it goes to the C, it's the same exact pattern, just moved up the neck. So I'm starting at 10th fret, D string, that's my C. Barring 8th fret, top 3 strings. If you want to play all 3 strings, it'll sound brighter, but you can just play the G string and the B string. And then that hammer on with your middle finger. There's that bar with your ring finger on 10. And then this slide. I like using my ring finger and my middle finger. So it's 11B with your middle, 12G with your ring. So what it sounds like on the 4. And then back to the 1. Back to the 1. Now we're getting ready to go to the 5. And when we go to the 5 and then go down to the 4 right after that, we're using single note melody. And I want you to use this fingering as well because I think it makes good sense. Starting with my ring finger, 12th fret D string. So there, after my ring finger hits 12D, middle 2 beats on 11G, 1 beat on 12G, 1 beat on 13. Middle ring pinky. And then I land on that 10th fret B string with my index finger. My hand doesn't move at all. That's why I really like this fingering. You're kind of set up in that D bar chord or D7 position. Real slow. Resolve to that D at 12 D string. Move it down a full step, same fingering. And that last note should just be that 8th fret B string. So from the 5, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going back to the 1. One more time. Then you're done with the 12 bar and you go back to the top. So what do I do there what did I do there when I resolve back to the back to the 1. I hit the root of the 1, the G, 5th fret D string. This is all on the 5th fret, so it's single note, bar, single note. And then that same hammer-on we used early on in the 1, resolve to the root. Here it is real slow. And it does that twice. If that sounds familiar, if you listen to Muddy Waters' Manish Boy, that's the riff. Okay? So in this context, in this medium tempo shuffle, it finishes with that riff twice. Let me take it from the 5, and I'll finish it off with that riff twice. 2, 3, 4. And then back to the top. Back to the top. To the 4. Here's the 5. Again. We're back to the top. One thing I want to show you on that opening riff, we can get a little more rhythmic with it right here. That's kind of what the harmonica player would do, or the horn player would do. So if you want to match that kind of ba-da-da-da-da-da, I'd recommend an up, down, up, down. And that's pretty fast. And I'm trying only to pick the notes that I'm fretting, the G string and B string. Over the 4. So you don't have to play it that way, but try to get it that way. And also just play it straight like we did at the beginning without that heavy rhythmic strum. When you solo over it, it's just like soloing over a 12-bar blues in G, a swing and shuffle. And I think that about wraps it up. Hey, please check out my other lessons, including Smokestack Lightning, Blow Wind Blow, Dust My Broom, many others that I can't remember right now. But if you just search for Dave Specter on YouTube, go to the Chicago Blues Network YouTube page. You'll find lessons from Billy Flynn, Joanna Connor, Johnny Bergen, John Katke, Harlan Turson, and many more. And thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.